We used to
Please
wear
rise for the pledge.
Kids.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to Monday, May 16th's Board of Aldermen meeting. Let's start off with a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been, minutes have been approved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Okay, on to outside the rail. We have had a few contacts, so I'm going to start tonight with Tim Severance to speak outside the rail. Tim, come on up.
All right, my name's Tim Severance. I live on Marble Ave, which it's basically runs parallel with Dana Ave. For the people that know where it is, you probably know why I'm here. We're here for talk about the 5-star rating Econo Lodge and the Quality Inn. Now, the past 3 years, all the residents on Marble Ave and Dana Ave have been through hell. Hell with drug deals and pretty much everything else. It's to the point where we can't even let our kids walk around the block or even ride their bicycle around the block. Our kids can't walk down to the grocery store to Max to get a loaf of bread because they get approached by these drug dealers, drug users, and the scumbags that are at the hotels. Now, I know the hotels house these with state funds. The state, I know I talked to Dave Allaire a couple of times. The state is supposed to be, is it LIT is the group? I guess I'd like some insight on what LIT is. Let me just go off my notes here. Foot traffic on the street is very, very bad. More so when the fairgrounds gates are open. Once the fairground gates are open, it is kind of like a highway. So I'm here with a bunch of other of my neighbors on Marble Ave. I'm sure they will speak also. Ocean State job lots, kind of like a little meeting place for drug deals. I don't live right next to that parking lot. I live in the center, so on the right-hand side of Marble Ave. Chris, you guys live. Ernie, you guys live. You guys get to see it right, firsthand. We've had multiple thefts, break-ins of vehicles. We're to the point where we've had enough. Enough is enough. So I know there's been a lot of thefts throughout the whole entire city. So here's the deal, is most of us had to make the investment for security cameras. And I was also told with these security cameras, we can see vehicles driving through at night. So talking to some people saying that we should have at least 3 city patrols through the night. There's some nights where we maybe get 1 vehicle and it's not even a police car. I'm not sure. I know the police chief is here. Maybe he can, shed a little light to us residents also. I guess the question is when is enough going to be enough? Another person getting killed? What happens if something happens to one of our kids? This is ridiculous. When is enough going to be enough? We pay Rutland City taxes. We should be able to live in peace. We don't. This has been hell for us. I've been in contact with the mayor several times. This is enough. What's it going to take to stop this? Is it going to take one of our kids getting hurt, somebody breaking into one of our homes, and us having to take care of it? Enough is enough. I can't emphasize on that as much as I can. Enough is enough. We are done. Thank you.
Alderman Wickham.
Question for the chief, actually. Trying to think of, what is the data on that area? Do you guys get a lot of calls over there? What tends to happen?
Yeah, that'd be great, just so that, not for me, but for the TV crew here.
So while the chief's coming up here, I just want to reemphasize that I've actually been in contact with a lot of these folks down here, and I encouraged them to come to the Board of Aldermen meeting tonight. And the reason I did that was because I wanted them Now, I wanted you folks not only to hear directly from the residents as I have, but I want the state, and I repeat, the state, to hear directly from the horse's mouth of what these folks are going through, because those are the ones that need to be coerced, I guess is the word now, into doing something about the situation down there. You know, I meet regularly with the folks from LIT. I have a monthly meeting with the people from the state, but really all I'm getting is lip service. I've shut the quality in down once when I had the authority to do it on health and safety reasons. Unfortunately, they fixed what they had to do, and it reopened. Right now, I don't have any authority to shut them down unless I can find something. Again, this is going to take pressure from all of us here in the city to the state to address what is, originally supposed to be a situation where the homeless were being helped, because there are folks in that building who, through no fault of their own, need some help and they want to better themselves. But there's also an element there that it's just the opposite. That they are on a voucher. There's no vetting at all. They're just, if you want a voucher, you get the voucher and you're in, and then all hell breaks loose.
Why would I want that rent then?
So, to answer your question directly, in terms of the numbers at the hotels themselves, I think they could be they are certainly, we have fewer calls there this year, same time period as we had last year, okay, so year to date. But to some extent, those numbers can be manipulated because the only calls we get are those that are called in. And I think the hotels are aware of that, and they try to minimize the calls made to the police department because they know it sort of puts a bullseye on their back. So I think we have, we're told anyway that staff has been discouraged from calling the police. So that's an issue that we're trying to address. As the mayor mentioned, he's coordinated a number of meetings with state officials. They're from state agencies, but sort of local officials. We're planning a meeting with, and again, the questions we usually have for those officials, someone else has the answers. And so on June 15th at 6:30 at the middle school, we're having a meeting. I believe the commissioner himself will be coming because our concern is that, again, this is a homelessness program, right? It's a program for homeless. So our hope is that the state and a lot of local, service providers too, are looking at what the barriers are to permanent housing, and then require those in this program to participate in services that help them overcome those barriers. We had a meeting just today, and the consensus is that, well, the answer is that the state is not requiring participants to participate in services to help them overcome those barriers to homelessness. And that's a concern, because if we do nothing between now and the end of this program, then we're in the same situation we're in now. And so those are some of the, so what we dealt with today was, look, the purpose of today's meeting was to make sure, well, let me back up a little bit. So I think it was about November, I could be wrong on the dates, but it was about a year and a half ago when we first met with the state on this program. We had a lot of questions, and one of our concerns was that it was, there were a lot of program participants in the hotels, but they were sort of out of sight, out of mind from the state's perspective. They were housed here and sort of left there. And what we asked for was sort of a resource desk. We wanted to make sure that those in this program, participants, had access to services in the community, and we wanted the state to sort of facilitate that, right, by having a resource desk, connecting those in this program to the services necessary to overcome their any sort of permanent barriers to housing. And so as those conversations moved forward, the LIT team, which is it's not a governmental body, but it's a third non-governmental organization that is sort of serving in that role. And so the purpose of today's meeting was to make sure that the LIT team because they're staffing the facility 24 hours a day, right? But our concern was that they don't have the capacity necessarily, right, to provide this service at the number of hotels that they're providing this service at. And so the purpose of today's meeting was to make sure that they're actually sort of working with the service providers who should be providing the service for these individuals, for the program participants, to overcome those barriers. So, for example, if the reason someone is homeless is because they don't have a job, then our hope was that the state would then require the participant to engage in services to help them find a job. That's just as an example. If it's substance use disorder, then our hope was that the state would require that participant to, to avail themselves of those services. And so we want to make sure that the lit team is making those referrals to the appropriate agencies, because that was the concern, that they're working well beyond their capacity or don't have the capacity to actually serve those who need the services. We want to make sure that they're actually working with the other services within the community. And so about 3 years ago, we had a community resource expo after a fairly high profile incident in the city. And we talked about doing that again, because I heard of some services today that I didn't know existed. So again, I think it's important to do that again. So again, there are a lot of issues that we're trying to work through. But anyway, to answer the lit team.
It has nothing to do with after-hours monitoring.
Well, no, they're there 24/7. They're not.
Where? Are they there at 9 o'clock at night?
Yeah. Again,
Where?
so.
Where were they the other night when everybody was out there screaming?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they were, again, so they've got three facilities. I don't know that so again, in terms of the numbers, they said they have 42 on staff. They've got they've got a facility in Barry too that they're contracted with to perform these services. So, and as I said, that's our concern too, that they're spreading themselves too thin. And that's why we had this meeting. So prior to, I think, April or May 1st, they subcontracted with Stockton Security. But now Stockton Security itself has a contract with the state to provide security services, and they are going from facility to facility.
I can definitely tell you where they aren't. They are not at the hotel.
Well, again, they're certainly not at every location all the time.
I did at 1:30 the other morning, I did see a police cruiser go through the motel, looking across Panera's parking lot. Like, wow, that's good, because you know, police officer is like a firearm. Mere presence will deter a situation before it's a situation.
What is Stockton able to do? I mean, I hate to say it, but they're rent-a-cop. They can't do nothing. All they can do is get on the radio and call you guys. And you guys are so short-staffed and hamstrung yourself.
Yeah, certainly.
So
yeah.
where is the real help? Because they're not a help.
Well, I think they are help. They don't have the authority, certainly arrest authority, but I think they are help. They again, for some of the smaller issues, probably not the ones that come to your attention, but they are help within the facility itself. As I said, it is not the only area we patrol in the city, obviously. Unfortunately, there are some nights
We're
when.
not looking to be the only one patrol. We're just looking for some of our fair share.
Sure. Look, I understand, but.
And I know we can't protect our own. I talked to a Rutland City police officer one time, what can I do to protect mine? Well, there's a certain degree of force that you can use in your home. Well, don't tell me about inside my home. You step across my threshold, you're liable to get blown out.
Yeah, but we're not.
You talk about stuff outside.
Yeah.
I know I can't wire it up with point and fly this scumbag that wants to come into my yard.
Yeah, and again, but we're not talking.
To that point.
But we're not talking about. I don't think we're talking about people coming into people from the hotel coming into people's homes. Most of the activity is centered at the facility itself, and on.
No, it's not.
Now again,
False statement.
in the commercial establishments, okay, around those facilities, that's where the majority of the activity is centered. Okay, the facility itself, the property, and the commercial facilities, commercial businesses around those facilities. That's where, and I absolutely, again, in terms of the number of calls that we'll get associated with the hotel, it is absolutely at the hotels themselves and those businesses. Not so much in the residential areas. Now again, you're in a residential area in close proximity to the areas that I'm referring to, okay?
If I was to call you for everything that I see,
Well, you need to.
I would be calling you guys every 5 minutes.
But you need to, and as the mayor sort of alluded to that, the reason why is because when we get those calls, we have records of those calls, okay? And when we meet with the state, we can give them a picture of what's going on, okay? And our hope, and again, this is what we did going back to November, we had the numbers to show it. The numbers that we showed a year ago were far greater than they are now, okay? And maybe the reason is because people aren't calling. Exactly, but you need to.
By the time everything shows up,
If
whatever
we're
it
gone.
is to-
But it doesn't mean what happened didn't happen,
Not
okay?
only that, but we have called in the past, and and the blatant attitude that we've gotten from dispatch because we're bothering them.
Yeah.
Well, that's what, I need to hear about that. When those things happen, we have, the administration has to know about that.
Okay, well, here's a good example of you guys being contacted, and this will go for the fire department as well. Us living with our property abutting to Ocean State, we went over and talked to Tom, the manager of Ocean State. He said that he had a gentleman come in, grab some merchandise and go down an aisle and try to light it on fire as an arson. You guys, nor your fire department, had yet to go down there. Right from his mouth. He said he's called both of you. Okay. I'll talk with him again. I wish he was here, but he's probably in fear of losing his job for.
If we were called, I guarantee you.
Well, then maybe you should take a trip down there. I'm telling you about it. This is happening right in my backyard. We've been in our backyard, had people crawl down the edge of the embankment to defecate in our yard. We found used syringe, hypodermic needles in our backyard. We found suitcases filled with just absolute junk and trash. We've had people walk through our yard in the middle of the day, and they see us, and they don't seem to care. That's a problem.
They do when I speak.
I don't dare walk my dog at night or go anywhere in this city without carrying protection. This city isn't what it used to be. And my neighborhood sure as hell isn't what it used to be.
Yeah, and again,
And
you know,
something needs to be done.
to some extent, the conditions exist, okay? We do the best we can with the local resources, but the conditions exist because of some decisions made at other levels of government, okay? And again, as I said, early on in the program, it's like out of sight, out of mind, you know? And then so, you know, we responded to that. The mayor, eventually mayor shut the place down, but again, we asked for some resources because we were offered, okay, money to be at the hotel. We don't have the resource, we don't have the bodies for that, okay? So we look to the state to provide all the resources to deal with the conditions that exist, okay? As I said, we're meeting regularly. As I said, though, we're meeting with officials at a level that don't make those decisions. Now, we're already been already suggested that the design of the program is to some extent due to legislative action, okay? So I'm hoping that the state, you know, that our legislators will be there. But again, June 15th, I mean, I think these are the things that, you know, the state needs to hear, not just from us, not just from the city, but its residents too. So yes, June 15th at 6:30 at the middle school auditorium, all right?
So I have some questions from the floor before we go back. So Alderwoman Davis, and then Alderman Whitcomb. And then
So,
Alderman.
Chief, and maybe Mayor Lair, what is the name of the organization that's there day to day?
Life Intervention Team is the organization.
LIF, L-I-F.
LIT, Life
LIT.
Intervention Team.
Okay, I'm sorry. And who do they report to?
Really, the state's contracted with them.
But who the state? Is there a
It's the
division of?
Division of Children and Families.
Okay,
Agency of Human Services.
okay. So, that leads us that there's someone there. There's an in-charge person. Does this in-charge person ever show up at any of these meetings?
So this, most recently, no. So last year we were having some Zoom meetings, okay? So the state they contract with a third party called Margolis and Healy, which is a consulting group, I believe. They contract with that company to sort of manage these programs. So it's not a state official, him or herself, that's managing this program. There's, as I said, a consultant that's managing this, and the company's called Margolis and Healy, and we meet with representatives of Margolis and Healy fairly regularly. As I said, last year, one of the deputy commissioners was on those meetings as well, but this is around the time that the mayor, you know, shut the hotel down, and as I said, most recently we've been meeting with local officials from economic services, and again, but many of the questions we were asking, they didn't have the answers to, and so we said, let's have a meeting with those who have the answers.
So
And
they'll be at the June 15th?
my understanding is the commission will be at
Someone
the,
from the state responsible for the
Yes.
state will be at the June 15th?
yes. And we're still sort of in the process of sort of structuring that, and because we want to, you know, we want to somewhat have an organized program to the extent we can to address some concerns that we're hearing. We want to make sure we get those things addressed, and then, but as I said, it's a meeting open to the public.
Alderman Whitcomb.
Thank you, President Dunges. So I guess I sort of want to define what I see the problem being that's in front of us right now. We clearly have a group of neighbors coming in who are at their wits' end. And I think the last thing that we want to see is them feel compelled to take action in their own hands. We're clearly dealing with a group of vulnerable adults who desperately need services that really are not there to the degree to which they need to be. And then probably the real crisis is we have a group of opportunists who are coming in, taking advantage of the situation, selling drugs, engaging in deviant behavior. I keep hearing the same thread through all of this, the state, the state, the state. This appears to be a state-manufactured problem from a poorly thought-out plan to address an issue that did exist. So I wonder, what can we do now? A meeting a month from now is great. You know, talking about Stockton security is great. Can we send a letter to the state formally requesting the Vermont State Police to intervene in this? I don't know what it is they're assigned to do right now. I know that they've put out public decrees that they're not going to help municipalities. It's a state-manufactured problem. State needs to respond. This is the quickest way they can intervene.
Alderman Gillum.
Ask Bill if there's any motels up at his house, up near his house. See how he'd like it in his backyard. Simple as that.
As far as talking about funding, you're being realistic.
1 second. We absolutely want to hear what you have to say. We just have an order to the system. Thanks, sorry. Alderman Gillum, go ahead.
Our neighborhood, Cleveland, Baxter, is exactly where you guys are right now, 2 years ago. The system the chief put in place does work, but you have to stick with it. You gotta keep calling, you gotta keep calling. So he built a database on a situation. We started to get some of these drug dealers out of the neighborhood because the neighbors started to call. The neighbors started to take license plate numbers. The neighbors started to get the information to the cops. So you need to help them out a little bit. It does work, because I can tell you, and Sharon can back me up, it does work, okay? But you gotta stay with it. You gotta stick with it. And I know sometimes he will not be able to get to you right away because he's right up to here with calls, but the dispatch still puts that in the record. So there's a database being built. So once we know we have a hot spot, then we can get our resources there. And it has really worked in my neighborhood on Cleveland Avenue. And knock on wood, it's kind of quiet right now, but it could flare up in another time. Somebody moves in, it could flare up. But it has to be a 50-50 deal. You guys got to help them out, and they'll get there to help you out. It does work. That's all I can tell you, because I've experienced it and I know exactly where you guys are at.
But there's not a whole lot of motels and hotels down there around
I
Baxter.
know, but I had a boatload of drug dealers throughout that whole
I've
neighborhood.
been here since '81 in this state, and Baxter, Cleveland was always not a really great place to
Right.
be. Never mind where.
Right. But I think we also need to talk to the
And I'm
cops.
not saying they haven't cleaned it up, because they have.
Right.
I hardly ever go down there. Every time I've had it, it's a hell of a lot different.
But I think we
It's
need
not
to,
really the last 2 years.
right, what we need to do also is to work with the stores and see if we can get some fencing in place, because I'm pretty sure it's wide open in there, isn't it?
It is completely wide open in my
They're
backyard.
supposed to maintain the hedges that they've got, which are like real
They're
prickly.
not gonna probably bigger than what
But
they
yeah.
are.
But I think we need to
That's
sit
right.
down with the
They won't grow as
property
a block,
owners
but they'll
and see
grow
if we
as
can
the
get some
deer
fences in.
coming
We've
through.
been in contact. My wife has emailed the property owner. We talked with Tom, which is the manager of Ocean State. He gave us the contact information for the property manager
And he's useless.
and has pretty much gotten nowhere. And the response that she got was, well, none of our other stores have fences. It's like, well, do any of your other stores abut to and have the same problems that you're having now? They did put in cedars because they were told when they got approved to come in, that I don't know who it was, just said that all they had to do was keep in place what was there. So they put in shrubs. I talked with them and I said, with all that's going on, I said, we don't want shrubs. I said, we want a fence. And we don't want a 6-foot fence or a chain link. We want an 8-foot fence, because even as big as I am, 6-foot fence, I guarantee I can run it and I can clear it. And then they also have that little knee-high, like 6x6. That's got to come out if they're going to put an 8-foot fence, because all that's going to do is be a stepping stone to help them get over that fence. But we've gone to that approach, and they basically like,
Shut us down.
yeah, tough crap. Sorry.
There's cars that'll park in the back of in their lot with their headlights beaming in our backyard. I can't see
In
what's
our
going
house.
on.
Headlights
the
in our
house,
windows in
you
the
know.
house.
I can't take the dog out by myself at night if he's gone for any reason, because I don't know what's gonna potentially be out there facing me.
That was part of the reason of me coming, not only to reinforce what Tim was saying, but yeah, we want a fence. We've tried dealing with Ocean State. They're basically just saying tough noogies.
Because it's all wide open back there, right?
It's all wide open. Any one of you guys
It's not
on
like the
board
fairgrounds
that
where it's all
want to
fenced
see
in.
this for yourself, I invite you guys to my property any single day of the week. You let me know, and I'll let you guys set up chairs in the backyard and you can watch what's going on. And yes, we want a fence and we need you guys' help to get us there. And we don't want it just along our stretch. We want it all the way down to basic, well,
Well, you see, when Hannaford took that over, they gave people, property owners, money to put up their own fence along there. They would put up a hedge. Most of the people accepted the money and didn't bother doing anything about a fence.
Oh.
Now, how are you gonna get through this hedge? Now, I believe that's all in that Act 250 also.
but it needs to be just.
I put up with fences, a 6-foot wooden fence to try to help deter them from coming through my yard.
And we have these meetings, the state, and we can ask those questions, because as I said, when we raise the, because we talked about this fairly early on, the issue with the hotel, we talk about principles of crime prevention through environmental design, right? And so, and that's one of the things we talked about at this hotel, that the problem with this hotel, one of the problems is that you've got an interior and an exterior entrance, right? So you've got, so we could be on the outside, or we could be patrolling the hallways, but someone's going out the back door. So again, so it's another sort of principle of crime prevention and design, is having the fences. So again, there's been money for us to have a presence, but maybe that money can be earmarked for sort of putting things in place to decrease the amount of crime that's occurring. So we'll ask that question specifically, about money specifically for improvements to the facility to reduce incidents of crime. So we'll ask that question again, and probably well before the 15th. But again, the ones we're asking the questions of might not have the answer. But if we don't have an answer by the 15th, then it's something we can ask the commissioner when he's there.
I would show up at that meeting and put the fence on on the table.
But as far as that fence, like where our property is, it's right where the parking lot basically stops and it goes down to the road.
The drainage ditch out through
Yeah,
there.
to exiting it. So you would go up the road and then it opens up and our property is right here. We would want it so that fence goes all the way down to that entrance road. And it just can't be on our side because all they're gonna do is go around to the very end of it and go around. It's gotta go across the back. It's gotta go
Has the
across.
fairgrounds got their fence to their property line, to the
I think
store
it
property?
is. I think it is.
So you need to go from that, okay.
And some of the issues are a function of the irresponsibility of the facility, of the owner of the hotel.
Yeah.
Because every facility doesn't have these same issues. And so, and I think you just sort of talked about that issue. Them having no desire to put the fence up, to make the conditions better for its residents.
Well, that wasn't the hotel, that was Ocean State.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with them. The hotel itself should be doing something.
Keep them in the.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all they're gonna do is
Did
walk
the state
around
propose
that, you know what I mean? I want something that's gonna guarantee my property. All we're gonna do is walk down the sidewalk and come back down around, because we're just a highway to get over to, Park Street or whatever,
So-
People like going over Park Street quite a lot.
Yeah, we're going to continue to have those conversations. As I said, I had a meeting just today. I think our next was in a couple weeks with other state representatives. But June 15th is, I think is absolutely, I think, critical that you come.
We just need help.
And again, and so do we. And so do we.
Before
So,
we
You guys
help
are the ones that
ourselves.
can make the difference.
well, as I said, continue to call us.
God help those
Continue
who
to
help
call us. I
themselves.
can't guarantee the immediate, that we'll have an immediate response. And again, if you do call and you get less than a friendly voice on the other end, please let us know. Please let me know, okay? Because you know
Please
what?
let any of
Because
us know.
It's all recorded. It's all
I will
recorded.
say, the other day we called, we were in the backyard, and there was a car, it was a white sedan, I don't know what kind of sedan, whatever. But we had seen them pull in the parking lot to Ocean State.
Drive to the back.
They
throw
went to the
of it.
back, you could hear fighting, arguing, banging of things.
Yeah, something loud, bang.
We went inside, because our phones were in the house, went inside, we did call, he was put on hold briefly. Dispatch did send out 2 officers. By the time they showed up, of course, they were gone. But I will say
That
that
was a
particular
good
day,
interaction.
it was a
but
great
in the past,
interaction.
it always hasn't always.
You know, it was great. They were there. They did patrol around, and things were quiet for the rest of the night.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you voicing your concern. It's, you know it's tough. We appreciate what you've suffered through already, and it sounds like we've got some potential steps. Before we let the chief walk away, is there any other questions for the chief or the people that came in to speak on this issue?
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and
Thank you for
keep
coming
your
in
ears
and
peeled
telling
for
us
results.
this. Now it's on our radar.
And please attend that meeting on June 15th. That's going to be big, to make sure they hear from you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And I'll make sure the state representatives watch this meeting.
Okay, still in Outside the Rail, Erica Wallstrom, would you like to come up and give us an update?
Hi, I'm Erica Wallstrom, and I'm here with Tim Wigmore. And we're coming on behalf of the RISE board to kind of give you an update on where we're at. It's been kind of a long haul with COVID, and so we just wanted to have you all know what we've been up to, and as well as the general public. So,
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having us here tonight. As many of you know, RISE has been part of this community for 35 years, formerly known as the Rutland Ishidori Student Exchange. Now it's the Rutland Hanamaki RISE Exchange, as RISE was amalgamated in the city of Hanamaki. We faced some challenges in the past couple of years. In the fall of 2019, we chose a group of students to go to Japan to be part of the RISE program and experience the Japanese culture. COVID hit, and that group is still waiting to get on the plane. And we are committed to sending that group. Many of them will be seniors this fall. We're hoping that travel conditions change. Internationally, Japan right now is closed to foreign tourists. So when that changes, we'll look for ways to get that group going. We've been very fortunate over the years. The community is great supporters of the RISE program. And our purpose of being here is just to let you know we're still here. RISE is still active, and Erica's going to talk to you about a couple other things that have been happening in spite of COVID. So go ahead, Erica.
yeah, so our goal is to really keep the connection, both with the communities, but also with the students directly. And so RISE is primarily a program for 8th graders and 9th graders in Rutland City. And so our middle school has sort of a student-led initiative. There were a couple students that were talking to one of our other board members, Megan Marsh, and they were saying, I really want to learn Japanese, and like I'd love to be able to go to Japan. And so Megan reached out to our RISE partners, and they've set up a pen pal exchange that's been going on this year. There's 12 Rutland Middle School students that excitedly got their letters that had been translated by our partner in Hanamaki, and then it's a little bit harder to get them motivated to write back, but they eventually wrote some fabulous letters and sent them back. So they've been having this exchange, and there are other students that are really excited to get involved as well. Back in October, the representative at Hanamaki reached out to us and said, you know, we thought it would be really great to have kind of like a Zoom party and connect with people that have been chaperones and participants and host families and so forth. So we had, I don't know, we had probably 30, 40, we had, I think on our side, 15 different people in Zoom meetings, and then they actually all gathered together in one space, and they had a translator. And we were on a Zoom call for over an hour, just sharing stories. We had pictures, people were kind of comparing, you know, like their different experiences, wishing each other well, and just trying to keep that connection alive. So that was really great. And we've talked about having another one in the future. And then the last thing I'll just mention, Tim mentioned that the program's been going on for over almost 35 years. This would be our 35th reunion. And we love traditions and keeping those alive and recognizing the friendships that we had. So we are still, fingers crossed, hoping to have a delegation that will go to Hanamaki this fall. Obviously, things depend on whether the borders are open for international guests and whatever. So we will cross that bridge, but we just wanted to let you all know that the connections are strong and that they're thinking of us and we're thinking of them and staying connected. So.
Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah.
Any questions for?
I just say we've enjoyed them every time, and we've enjoyed even the governmental delegations that have come over and spent some time with us, and some we still chat with on Facebook, which is kind of nice.
Alderman Gill.
Had the opportunity to go over with the city delegation with Mayor Casarino at the time. And that was a very eye-opening experience. And I think this should continue for our kids, because I think our kids really need to know how the rest of the world works. And this is a great program. So I will definitely support it, for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Awesome. Thank you for the update. We really appreciate you coming in. All right. We are still in Outside the Rail. Is there anyone who has an issue they'd like to discuss that is not on the agenda tonight? Mary Beth. Mary Beth, can you just tell us what town you live in?
My name is Mary Beth Lennox Levins, and I am a Rutland City resident. And I'm here to read a couple, on behalf of a couple of the residents, to read letters on their behalf, okay? Not all residents, some also concerned parents, so. This is from Jeff Weld. He's a Rutland City resident that lives on Grove Street. Dear Aldermen, I'm writing to you this afternoon. Some of you may have received this actually in your email earlier. Ahead of this evening's Board of Aldermen meeting, regrettably, I will not be able to attend due to other commitments, but I am hoping my thoughts on the recent news of a vacancy on the Rutland City School Board of Commissioners will be considered if there is action to be taken on filling the vacancy. As a college educator, a former college administrator, and the spouse of a Rutland City Public Schools educator, I am beyond concerned with the politicization and polarization of our school board in the recent past. It is a trend that our entire country is grappling with, as you are no doubt aware. For the city's mayor to completely ignore the voting public and appoint or nominate a person of his own choosing without any rational explanation of how that person came to be chosen, or any clear explanation of what qualifies that person to serve over another candidate who received over 200 more votes in the most recent election, has the perception of cronyism that will continue to divide our community and further politicize and polarize the school board. The teachers and students of Rutland City deserve to have the focus of our school board commissioners. Instead, the mayor's appointment now further distracts the attention of the commissioners from the true tasks at hand and further politicizes and polarizes a board that should be coming together at a time when our teachers and students need them the most. It seems to me that the appropriate thing to do here would be to go straight down the list of the candidates who missed out on seats on the board and ask if they are interested in filling the vacancy. If they say yes, then they should be appointed. If they decline, the mayor should ask the next leading vote getter, and so on. This removes the perception of cronyism and validates the will of the voting public. I do not know if there is any action that the Board of Aldermen can take on this matter, but it is my hope that they can and will. I hope that this message will reach you in time to be entered into the record this evening. Then he and I spoke, and I said I would read it on his behalf. Best, Jeff Weld, Rutland, Vermont, Grove Street. May I read two more? Is that okay?
Do you want to wait, or do you want to respond, or say anything? Okay.
I just have a
Alderman Davis?
question. And I appreciate the commissioner coming in, but the appointment of a school board commissioner is not before this board. We do not weigh in on an appointment, pro or con. We don't vote for it. We don't vote against it. It is not within our purview to do so. So I have no objection to listening, but we have no power to do so. The power is in the charter, and the charter is very outlined as to the powers and the duties and the responsibility of the mayor.
I think I'm here because it's certainly within the best interest of the Board of Aldermen to hear what the public has to say on the matter as well.
I didn't get an email.
I'm just reading what I don't control what my fellow
But I'm
citizens
just saying
do.
I didn't receive an email if one was sent out, and that's usually when issues that are public come to the board, is usually they're somehow contacted through emails or some type of information.
I think it's also why I'm here.
and I'm listening.
Okay, thank
I
you.
just want you to understand it's not a vote that we can take or not take.
I understand, thank you. This one is from Amy Allen, who is a parent of 2 former Rutland City Public School students. Hold on, where am I? To the members of the Board of Aldermen of Rutland City, I'm writing to you today because I am concerned about the recent vacancy on the school board and the conjecture as to who will be appointed to fill that seat. After more than a year of divisiveness among the city and the school board in Rutland, as it relates to the school mascot and logo discussion, the notion that the mayor is considering nominating someone to the school board who lost by 220 votes to another candidate is baffling and is a decision that will only serve to further divide a now healing city. The act of nominating Bob Pirro to the school board shortchanges the democratic process. Mr. Pirro lost the election in March, while Marisa Kefauver beat him by a wide margin. The mayor and the city's leadership owe it to the Rutland community and our schools to nominate Ms. Kefauver to the board, as she is the next in line according to the voters of the city. Please do the right thing here and help bring some peace to a place that's brought such tension for so long and is now just finally finding some healthy calm. Please don't disrupt this with a divisive nomination that defies logic when it comes to vote count, voter wishes, and election outcome. As you might remember, a recount was necessary to settle the election because the vote for Ms. Kefauver was incredibly close. She missed being named to the board by just 5 votes. The voters clearly chose her over Mr. Pirro when given the chance, and to ignore that seems counterintuitive. Turning your back on the wishes of your constituents will leave community members feeling unheard, undervalued, and like they don't matter. Please do the right thing here. Name Marisa Kefauver to the vacant seat. Thank you. I have just one more to read, please. Thank you. This is from Rutland City resident Krista Donatus. Good evening. As a Rutland City resident, I am writing to express concern over the nomination of Bob Pirro as the replacement for Brittany Kavakis to the school board. In March, Marisa Kefauver beat Bob in the election by a larger margin of votes. I am curious as to why she's not being nominated, as that would make sense based on the numbers from the most recent election created by the voters of Rutland City. This doesn't seem like it is an accurate example of the democratic process as it is intended. Please consider the March election results as you make your final decision to nominate Mr. Pirro instead of Ms. Kefauver. Thank you for your time, Krista Donatus.
Okay.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mary Beth? All right, thank you, Mary Beth. Is there anyone from outside the rail that would like to speak as well? Come on up, state your name and where you're from.
Good evening, my name is Bridget Scott. I live here in Rutland. I'm a homeowner, I'm a business owner, and I'm here to talk about that same issue as well. I also found out recently about the plan to nominate someone from the list of people who didn't quite make the school board, and I also just had to wonder why that would be someone who lost by several hundred votes like 5 minutes ago, and not someone who just missed office by 5 votes. That person who almost made it to the school board is a career educator who has a wider agenda than the gentleman whose message was roundly rejected by the voters of Rutland. And I'm one of those voters. I know we don't always agree, but we seem to have a clear mandate for the school board of a way that we want them to go, and I feel very disregarded by that. I feel that it's anti-democratic, it's just wrong, and frankly, it's dirty pool.
Okay, any questions? All right. Anyone else that wants to speak outside the rail? All right, John. And then if this, anyone else who wants to speak on this subject, we'll probably just have you raise your hands and agree, unless you have something different to say.
Hi, my name is John Atwood. I'm a resident on East Street. I'd just like to add to the conversation of the current topic and point out that prior appointments to the Board of Aldermen have been settled by going down the voter list, and that makes eminent sense. It's very fair and understandable to the voters, and I would encourage the mayor to consider a similar approach. Thank you.
Alderman Wickham.
I would like to comment on this, but I don't know if the mayor has something specifically he wanted to share with us.
I do, under communications from the mayor, absolutely.
I can wait until then.
Awesome. We are still in Outside the Rail. Is there anyone else that would like to speak from outside the rail this evening? Marisa, come on up.
Hi, I'm Marisa Kiefaber. I live on Killington Ave in Rutland City. I am the one that lost the election by 5 votes, and I spoke with Mayor Allaire earlier today, advocating for me to take that open space on the board. As an educator, I feel that I will do an incredible job on the board to represent our students, our staff, and our constituents here in Rutland City. And I encourage Mayor Allaire to please follow the voters and appoint me. Thank you.
Thank you, Marisa. Any questions? Okay. I do have one more thing for Outside the Rail, if that's okay. Let me see, one second here. Just gotta pull it up. Amila, from the USCRI was supposed to attend this evening and give us an update on the refugee resettlement work, and she wasn't able to make it, so I'm just going to read a statement that she sent me, and we'll go from there. So, I regret to inform you that I will not be joining you in person this evening. The weather had a different plan. Actually, it starts off, by the way. Dear Mayor Allaire, President Dunges, and distinguished aldermen and women, thank you for allowing me to address you. First, I want to let you know that Rutland is now home to 13 Afghans. They are settling in well. All are working at local manufacturing companies, learning English, and connecting with many community members. Many Rutlanders have given them a warm welcome and are helping them get settled in the community. The USCRI team has tripled since the last time I spoke with you. In addition to a full-time community partnership coordinator, we hired a case manager, staff attorney, and we'll be hiring a job developer in the coming days. We are still working out of our temporary office space at the Energy and Innovation Center and are actively searching for a long-term office space. I'm happy to let you know that USCRI is looking ahead to the new fiscal year and the continuation of the refugee resettlement in Vermont. As part of this process, we are connecting with community partners such as yourselves and discussing our plans to ensure that we are well prepared to welcome new arrivals and help them adjust to their new lives in Vermont. In FY23, USCRI proposes to welcome 75 individuals, refugees, to Rutland and grow the number to 100 in FY24 and 150 in FY25. For the remainder of FY22, we hope to welcome more Afghans, although it is uncertain when and how many will be arriving. The focus of refugee resettlement continues to center around early self-sufficiency through employment. As we are all aware, there is no shortage of jobs across Vermont, and refugees are eager to go to work and take care of themselves and their families. In the coming days, we'll be connecting with with community health providers, economic services, schools, public safety, employers, landlords, and community service providers to engage in the planning process ahead of the arrival of newcomers in Rutland. I'm certain you will have questions, and I encourage you to email me directly. Again, I regret not being there in person this evening, and I hope to join you in your meeting in June. Thank you. All right. What's that? We are still outside the rail. Okay. Come on up, Lyle.
Lyle Jepson, Rutland City. I want to compliment this body tonight. You are going through some issues that are very difficult, and what you have witnessed tonight is communication. People feeling like they can come here and they can say what they need to say, and people are still going to leave and go downstairs and say hi to each other, which is why Rutland City is so important and so special. So the issues before you will resolve themselves over time. I will warn you that having watched the fire department and the police department and the business feud, we need to take care of both of those organizations, because having watched them dance on stage, they have other careers. So again, a little bit of levity before you go on to make some decisions you need to make tonight, but communication here is going very well, in my opinion. These folks
They're upset, and they have every right to be upset. The chief handled himself professionally, both chiefs. They'll help resolve it. It just can't happen tomorrow. But it happened in your neighborhood, and it can happen again, and it will happen again. So with that, I would like to invite you to our legislative breakfast, the Chamber and Economic Development of the Rutland Region, next Monday, the 23rd, 7:30, Southside Steakhouse. Come and hear how the legislative session came out. Your legislators will be there to entertain you, so thank you.
Thank you, Lyle.
Careful.
All right. Seeing as there's no one left, I'm assuming we're done with outside the rail, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you very much. Great to be with you all again tonight. So I did have two issues I wanted to speak to tonight. First one is just more of an announcement, and the chief will back me up on this. Tomorrow night is the Rutland City Police Awards ceremony, as well as this year's memorial service. They are combined, the two. It's going to be held at 6 o'clock down at the Mission City Church, which is located on Cold River Road in Rutland Town. And all are invited. It's right off South Main Street, and I will be there. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make the committee meeting that's just been warned for tomorrow night, but we look forward to that, and look forward to a good turnout, and all the public is invited. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the issue that you have heard about tonight. So I'm going to read from what I put together here before the meeting. As the rumor on social media has been circulating, Brittany Kavakis has indeed resigned from the Rutland City School Board. And I'm going to read her letter of resignation, if I could, please. Dear Mayor Allaire, first off, let me express my appreciation to you and the city for trusting me on the school board these last 2 years. Our students, staff, and administration and teachers are some of the strongest individuals that I know as we have been through these trying times. With that being said, I must submit a letter of resignation letter effective May 11th, 2022. I believe that was last Wednesday, due to my extensive job duties and health. My job needs my full attention, and with the board, I cannot make a full commitment. I do hope that the board focuses on the staff and the students in making sure that they are in a safe place, not worried about a mascot. I hope to do more work in the community when I am able. Deepest thanks, Brittany Kavakis. So after receiving Brittany's resignation, I immediately consulted the charter for its direction to make sure that I'm following the procedure. And for those listening at home and for those here, just to make sure everybody's aware of what the procedure is. So under Chapter 30 Board of School Commissioners, Chapter 30.2, any vacancy of the Board of School Commissioners occasioned by death, resignation, removal from the city, or other disability shall be filled until the next annual election, which would be next March, upon nomination by the mayor. And that's nomination by the mayor. The mayor shall make such nomination to the Board of School Commissioners within 14 days of any vacancy. In my view, that 14 days is up a week from Wednesday. I believe it's the 25th of May. The Board of School Commissioners shall receive the mayor's nomination for a replacement commissioner at a scheduled board meeting. The commissioners shall vote on the mayor's nomination at the next scheduled meeting of the school board. The Board of School Commissioners shall have the power to reject said appointment by a vote of 7 members of the Board of School Commissioners, and if they do not reject said appointment, it shall be confirmed. And then if the person so appointed is rejected, the mayor shall appoint another person for such office and go through the same process again. And if that doesn't hold, in that case, the Board of School Commissioners may proceed to make such appointment, which appointment shall be valid without the consent of the mayor. So that is the charter, the way it reads as far as vacancies. The charter is state law. So, picking up where I left off last week, the next 2 days following receiving Wednesday's letter, we're busy with, of course, the day-to-day operations of running the city. I did speak to a former candidate for the school board. I did speak to the superintendent of schools, and I did speak to the chair of the Rutland City Board of School Commissioners. After these discussions, my initial choice was, and to this point still is, to some point, been reinforced that I am making the correct recommendation, which, by the way, I have not made yet. As with all nominations, the board in this case, the Rutland City School Board, makes the final decision and votes up or down on the nomination. I put forth a name, somebody else makes the decision whether they accept or do not accept. Now, as we all know, why this nomination has become so controversial. And there's a couple of reasons. Obviously, for the divisions that we have seen over on the school board side for the last couple of years, not the least of which is the Raven Raider continuing saga, which I hope at some point very soon will be put in the rearview mirror. The last 2 years, the school board actions have been, and I will put it kindly, less than flattering. The Raven Raider controversy has overshadowed everything else, including what's been needed, and what's been needed is decisions that affect the children and the families of the city of Rutland. And those need to be, in the first instance, the first and foremost thing that the Rutland City School Board works on, and their first priority. The important work in the city schools need to be front and center. I want to reiterate, we have wonderful teachers. We have wonderful support staff and terrific families in this city. These people need support, they need direction, and they need leadership, not only from the school board, but from all of us, in order for them to do their work. That's what needs to happen, and that's what I hope to happen. I have had some very respectful conversations with members of the current members of the school board. I have received numerous emails, most of which have been respectful. A couple of them have not, but I guess that's part of the equation of being in the place that I currently find myself in. By the way, I will publicly state that the name that I have contemplated sending over to the school board, I believe it goes to the chair of the school board, between now and May 25th is Bob Pirro. I have until May 25th to send that name, and I will do so in the next few days. So I believe that's all I have for tonight, Mr. President.
All right. Any questions for the mayor? Alderman Wickham.
Maybe not so much a question as a statement. And I do appreciate the mayor giving us the explanation. I was one of the people that put a call into him last Friday, and I hadn't heard back. I was quite surprised in the afternoon to see my phone start kind of ringing off the hook with people wondering what was going on. So I guess, what are the comments I have? I'm always amazed when a process trumps tradition and vice versa, and when people choose to cite that. And that is what that is. But I want to take us back to a time not so long ago when Mayor Allaire was elected and appointed Ed Larson to fill his seat on the Board of Aldermen. At the time, the rationale made quite a bit of sense to me, quite honestly. Many new members on the board wanting to balance out, those novices with a tenured former alderman to kind of help guide them along. I thought it was actually a really good decision. We find ourselves here with 7 school board commissioners who have served 1 year or less. And I guess, as a resident of the city, knowing that I'm not voting on this, but someone who's definitively interested, I'm curious why we're not seeking someone who's been there before, someone who has experience on municipal or, any kind of municipal level of meetings. It seems like more than anything right now, based on what we need to kind of alleviate the decisiveness, help guide us in the direction that serves the teachers, the children, the taxpayers of the city, that might be the most important consideration. So I guess those are just my thoughts of where I would hope to see us go.
Any other questions for the mayor? All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're very welcome.
Moving on from communications to the mayor's to addition deletions to the agenda, we are going to add a report from Alderman Franco for IT committee. We'll add that into reports of standing committees. Next up, is there any other additions and deletions to the agenda?
Yep. I had a question on the deletions. Were we removing some of the attorney's executive session?
No, those are all gonna stay.
Okay.
So we're gonna keep those. Thank you. Good question. Great. I've been briefed. Okay, any other additions or deletions to the agenda this evening? Great. Reports and letters from department heads and officials. Barbara Spaulding from the RRA. She is not here this evening, but is a request to set a final public hearing for Lincoln Place. It's pages 1 and 2 in your packet, and I'll just real quick read through the letter. The City of Rutland was awarded a $498,000 grant from VCDP on November 7th. 2020 funds were used with other resources by HRTC to rehabilitate the former IHM school into 19 units of affordable housing. Additionally, the HRTC team teamed up with Rutland Mental Health to provide an on-site case management services as well as clinical substance misuse treatment services to residents. The construction is complete and the units have been leased. Therefore, VCDP requires that the city hold the final public hearing as a part of the closeout process for the grant. We respectfully request that the aldermen set a final public hearing prior to their June 20th meeting. This will allow for the required 15-day posting in the Herald. If you have any questions, please contact me, Barbara. So the suggested date and time is June 20th at 6:45 p.m.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Alderman, motion to suspend the rules has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I'll
Alderman
move
Davis.
to set the public hearing regarding Lincoln Place for June 20th at
6:45.
Second.
Okay, motion to set the public hearing, and it's been seconded. Any discussions or debate, questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Treasurer Malkowski, April 2022 Treasurer's Report. You should have this in your email.
Good evening, everyone. On to finances. April, we're 10 months into the fiscal year. We're starting to look at what is our tax rate going to look like? Where are we budget-wise? Lots of good things happening that I really wanted to report on. Looking at tax delinquencies, our prior year tax delinquencies this year are lower than the previous 2 years, and I'll start by saying in FY20, April prior year tax delinquencies at 1.2 million. 2021, just over 1 million. To date, 863,000. So we've had some good tax sales, collections. You see all the property transfers, those have helped the city. They pay off the balances due. Lots of good things happening. We have people on payment agreements. Seeing those numbers go down, that's important to note to everyone. That's good for all of us to see that. And then I kind of looked at water and sewer, and that's a little bit slower, but also going down from 677 to 635 to 531 with the 90-day delinquency. So I just wanted to share that with you as we're getting into the end of the year. That's going to be important when we go to set the tax rate, to have that cash that we haven't had. So also wanted to mention, when we're looking at the sewer fund, I've reported out the sewer fund has really been trying to catch up in its cash position. So we've had a one-time payment from Alpine of $300,000. That's bringing that fund back in right now with I think a balance due to the city of $486,000. A couple months ago, we were looking at 1.2 million. So things are getting better, improving in that sewer fund. We've had some reimbursements for some of those larger projects, and we have that money coming in from Alpine, so that helps that fund. Of note, general fund,
I could just stop
sure.
you. How often do we get the revenue from Alpine? Yearly, quarterly?
This is a one-time. We won't see this again. I think 5 years was that contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Further agreement that,
Right.
all right,
Yeah.
right,
With
absolutely.
that new allocation. So that's a one-time influx of cash there and allocation for the allocation fees.
Right, thank you.
The general fund, really on target with expenses, but we have a lot of departments reporting much lower than budget, police department for one. I do think we'll have a surplus at the end of the year if we can manage the next couple of months, be real thrifty, because going into next year, when we did the FY23 budget, we really didn't anticipate fuel prices doubling, tripling, gas prices, so hopefully we'll have something to put aside to support that in the next year. So I've just kind of had that vision of looking at July, what we're going to be looking at. So right now, April, I feel pretty comfortable with our numbers and that we're doing all the right things right now. So. And that is pretty much what I had to report tonight. So. Any questions?
Nice and easy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer Marquez.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we have 3 executive session requests for this evening. We will move those to the end of the meeting. I have the data. We should be able to get through those pretty.
Point of order, is the attorney gonna be on phone?
He can be if we need him.
If we need him?
If we need him, he said we can call.
We're gonna freelance. Oh.
I wasn't aware of that. Sorry. My apologies. I didn't see him on the other side of the room there.
No problem. Okay. Moving on, reports of standing committees. We'll start with Alderman Neary with the Public Works Committee report.
Yep. 1 second. There
It should be in your email.
Was he doesn't like you or something?
All right. The Rutland City Public Works Committee met on May 12th. Members present: Alderman Neary, Alderman Gillum, Alderman Nattori. Others present: Alderwoman Davis, Chief Kilcullen, Commissioner Rotundo, and Gordon Drusilla. Vice Chair Neary called the meeting to order at 5:35 p.m. The first item on the agenda was the V-Trans Bicycle and Pedestrian Grant application for rectangular rapid flashing beacons at the West Street pedestrian crossing near the Multimodal Transit Center. The referral was made by the full board following a unanimous vote from the Traffic Safety Committee. The issue of this mid-block pedestrian crossing was first identified by a local business owner who notified Alderman Neary of several close calls with heavy-duty trucks and pedestrians crossing West Street. The crossing is located on West Street between Merchants Row and Cottage Street and is the main access to the transit center. The city did improve the crossing by adding some curb extensions several years ago, but due to high vehicular speed and volume, enhanced visibility is necessary to promote pedestrian and traffic safety. Commissioner Rotundo and Chief Kilcullen both spoke in favor of the safety countermeasure, describing the benefits of the system. Commissioner Rotundo also provided some cost estimates for another recent RFB project on Allen Street. The committee reviewed the quote and agreed not to exceed $20,000 with funding from the V-Trans Bicycle and Pedestrian Grant Program with a 50% match due June 8th. The committee voted unanimously on a motion to recommend the full board support a V-Trans Bicycle and Pedestrian Program grant application for the installation of rectangular rapid flashing beacon at West Street crossing to the Multimodal Transit Center not to exceed $20,000. And I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from committee. It's been seconded. Any discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
The second item was not on the warrant agenda, but was an intended item of the referral from the full board and included a request for a citywide traffic study. This referral was also made following a unanimous vote from the Traffic Safety Committee, which has been discussing the need for a study for the past year. The committee discussed the need for a comprehensive traffic study, which will include but not limited to traffic volume and speeds, routes 4 and 7 and Strong's Ave and 7 intersections, bicycle and pedestrian routes, crosswalks, and more. Alderwoman Davis informed the committee that several existing studies address some of the components, such as complete streets and routes 4 and 7, but needed updating. The committee agreed that the selected consultant for the study would need to review past studies during the existing conditions analysis. Commissioner Rotundo and Chief Kilcullen both spoke in favor of this, of the traffic study, describing the benefits of the much-needed study. There was also some discussion around the estimated cost of the study, which was settled at $75,000. The study would be funded by a 80-20 grant from the V-Trans Bicycle Pedestrian Program due June 8th. Wasn't sure how to word this. I think we need to suspend the rules since this was not a warned agenda item, but the committee did recommend the full board a V-Trans grant application for the study not to exceed $75,000.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second. The rules has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Go. Do you want to read the motion again?
Let him read the motion.
Yeah, the motion recommend to the full board to support a V-Trans Bicycle and Pedestrian Program grant for a citywide traffic study not to exceed $75,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It's been seconded. Any comments, questions, discussion?
Just if I may, and maybe Alderman Neary can just keep it in his hat, that the few calls that I received when this hit the newspaper was the left-hand turn from West to Merchants.
It's already been voted on by traffic committee, and when it's restriped, we'll have a straight lane and right turn only. Straight lane, no wait, sorry, left-hand turn only, and then straight and right-hand turn.
There you go,
Sorry,
yep,
I had to map
yep.
that out in my head. So that will happen. Yeah, we've heard that several times. And I've heard good things. We did vote to make it a four-way stop without right-hand turns. And since then, we've heard the number of near misses on Westons and Merchants has gone down dramatically because now it's a four-way complete stop. And we hope that will also improve circulation. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Great. So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Any
Question.
questions? Yes.
We didn't talk about it in committee, but the railroad crossing on West Street is be considered in this topic?
That is slated to be.
That's already done? We don't have to worry about it?
Right?
Okay.
Or did that lose funding?
Okay, it's good then, all right.
I got a little bit of info on that.
Oh, good.
That was something that we all talked about last year. We went through a significant amount of negotiation with the state to get that done. They got some sort of a snag with their federal funding last year, which pushed it to this year. Now I understand, just in a conversation I had 3 or 4 days ago with the state, the railroad guru, they said it's going to be pushed back until at least next year because they haven't got their federal funding. So that crossing, there's not going to be any work on that forestry crossing until at least next year. It is still on the agenda, but just not until next
But
year.
we should also keep it in mind to have that part of the study that this is happening, so it will fit with other things that we're trying to do around
The
it.
traffic study.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Any more questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, Alderman Neary. Alderman Franco, IT Committee.
Yes, and if you'll bear with me, my allergies are getting the best of me. The Rutland City Information Technology Committee met on May 3rd at 5:30 p.m. in the downstairs conference room. Members present included Alderman Franco, Alderman Talbot, Alderman Whitcomb, Treasurer Markowski, and Administrator Sternisti. Others present included President Dunges, Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Taddeo, Superintendent Peters, and Chief Lovett. Chair Franco called the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. And opened the meeting by clarifying the scope of the new Information Technology Committee, which is to develop a coordinated strategy for foundational IT infrastructure and ultimately build toward a data-informed and digital services-based approach for all city business. The objective of the first meeting was to provide feedback on a request for proposals for an IT-managed services provider. The RFP was first approved by the Finance Committee and later authorized by the Board of Aldermen, so it already has approval. Administrator Sternisti then provided an update on the IT services memo. The memo was initially sent to the Finance Committee and Board of Aldermen on February 11th, 2022. Administrator Sternisti noted that the incumbent IT managed services provider has a grandfathered contract with the city, meaning that the package of services it provides is no longer offered to new clients. City staff has been in contact with another provider which offers tiered service packages at a potentially lower cost. President Dunges emphasized that aside from the cost of services, additional costs, including an initial evaluation and hardware, would also need to be considered by the committee. Administrator Sternisti agreed that the committee should consider these additional costs and noted that the initial evaluation would provide a more thorough baseline understanding of the city's needs. The committee heard a combination of in-person and written comments from department heads, including those of the departments of Recreation, Fire, Police, and Public Works. Superintendent Peters emphasized that the Recreation Department needs comprehensive IT services infrastructure, and existing staff often bear the burden of managing existing IT assets. She also pointed to the issue of Wi-Fi in city recreational facilities. President Dunges pointed to state funding opportunities for public Wi-Fi and suggested that the chosen IT vendor evaluate this component. Commissioner Rotundo offered a written comment stating that the incumbent provider has generally worked for his department, that the city should have one designated network administrator available 24/7, and that he approves of the RFP. Chief Kokolin's written comments noted that the police department has unique needs that require additional state-level support currently under a set system, and thus the police department would likely not participate in this round of IT services procurement. Chief Levitt cited recent developments at the fire department, including the installation of fiber optic internet. The committee agreed that a coordinated strategy was needed to streamline and bundle services and to provide consistency and potential cost savings. Alderwoman Davis raised whether the managed services provider offers an on-site IT staff, which several committee members and department heads agreed would be essential. The committee discussed several models for on-site staffing, including 1, leveraging individual department staff, 2, hiring a city IT administrator initially covered by ARPA funds, and 3, partnering with the RCPS IT department. The committee concluded that several amendments should be made to the draft RFP, including expanding the scope of work to include an initial evaluation, setting a detailed timeline based on input from potential vendors, and building in opportunities for vendors to present to the committee before bidding. Administrator Sternisty and Treasurer Markowski agreed to incorporate the requested amendments, and the meeting was adjourned shortly before 6:20 p.m. So that's just an update. There's no motion coming out of it. It's
Just information.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Franco.
See you later, on 5.
Okay. Moving on to reports of select committees, we have none. Reports of representatives, we have none. Petitions, letters, and miscellaneous communications. We have an SEP request for the Parade of Heroes and Whoopie Pie Festival. That is pages 3 through 7 in your packet. Lyle, do you want to come up and give us a brief, or do you want us to just go for it?
It's a rerun from a year ago when we thought we were going to have the Parade of Heroes Whoopie Pie Festival. So I was here before and offered to answer any questions. Didn't have any questions then, so I don't know if you have questions now. More than willing to entertain them.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
It's been seconded.
It's 6 a.m., right, to 11 p.m., right? It's all day?
It's an all-day, well, it's about road closures and
Okay.
road openings, so we had to kind of put in the whole,
No, sorry, okay, I just
the whole deal.
want
yeah.
to make sure I was...
Really starts at noon, and there'll be activities through the day. There'll be a parade at 4:30. You got to come and see that because we're going to be reaching out to some of the people who are here tonight to march in that. The parade is for folks who have gone through the pandemic and worked on our behalf and didn't necessarily have an option to stay home, including oil delivery people and postal workers and others. So we hope to celebrate them. It does seem like it's been a long time. But we're now in this new normal. And as some of you in healthcare know, I think we're in this for a while.
Yep.
And so, but we'll get to the other side of it.
Thank you.
Fireworks that night, band in the streets, whoopie pies, you can't go wrong.
What more could you ask for?
What could you ask for? All right, we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll move for the approval of Parade of Heroes and the Whoopie Pie Festival for August 27th, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Second.
Motion to approve the SEP request has been seconded. Any discussion, questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. I can guarantee you I will not be here there that entire time.
Too bad. All right, moving on. We have another SEP request, Stomping Out Stigma, on August 17th, pages 8 through 13 in your packet.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
The rules have been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And I'll move for the, approval of Stomping Out Stigma for September 17th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Rutland City Main Street Park.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the SEP request on September 17th. Thank you for the correction. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, and the last SEP request of the evening. the Rutland County Out of the Darkness Walk on September 10th, 2022, pages 14 through 20 in your packet.
I'll move to suspend.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And, oh, there you go.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the Rutland County Out of the Darkness Walk on September 10th from 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. at Main Street Park.
Second. Motion to approve the SCP request has been seconded. Any discussion? Alderman Gillen.
This is a technical question, because I filled out this report and so did Lyle. Why is that still highlighted and this one here is not? Can anybody tell me the technical thing that we're doing wrong here? When we fill out these online reports?
Why, it's because it's blue?
It's blue. Is it supposed to be blue?
It's just because you got it from a different, when you downloaded it online, it has that blue. But if you were to stop into our office, it doesn't have the blue.
Oh. Okay, I thought I was doing something wrong. Just checking it. Yeah, mine.
We made a mobile application for him.
That's what we did too, yeah, okay. Just, it comes out that way, that's why I just wanted to ask. Okay, fine, thank you.
Okay.
Just a technical thing here,
No problem.
for an old man that doesn't know what's going on.
Any more discussion? Questions, comments? Okay, motion to approve has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Board of Control Commissioners, we have none. Is there any unfinished business? Hearing none. Miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and new business. Alderman Whitcomb.
A couple referrals, if I could. So the first, I would like to refer to Human Resources, the development of a social media policy for Rutland City personnel and elected officials.
We have a motion to refer social media policy to HR.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion,
But,
questions?
if I just follow up really quick. So shortly after the election, Alderwoman Taddeo and I met with HR Director Frazier and discussed what are some of the deficiencies that exist within the personnel manual right now. There's a handful, we realize, but in trying to identify, where is there no foundation and potentially low-hanging fruit, this was one that we identified. Just simple guidance for what you should and shouldn't do, whether you're either hired by the municipality or if you're elected, just so people have guidance.
We have a motion to refer social media policy to HR for discussion, discovery, and hopefully a suggestion. It's been seconded. Any further discussion or questions? Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay.
And I had one other referral, if I could. Same thing. So I'd like to refer to Charter and Ordinance, the development and adoption of a method to remove an elected or appointed official from office.
Okay. We have a motion to refer to Charter and Ordinance, a policy to, or a process to remove an elected official from office. We have a second?
I have a question.
You can't question
Until
yet.
you second.
Second for debate.
Second for debate.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded for debate. Do you have a question?
Just to remove or also to nominate? Is it the whole process or just the removal that we're discussing?
For this particular referral, I was just removal.
So if I may, what's
Alderman
the
Dick?
catalyst?
The catalyst is I was encouraged to review the charter by multiple people, and I spent some time doing that over the weekend. And through looking at it and comparing it to some of the other towns and cities throughout Vermont, I found that there is in many places a method by which if an elected or an appointed official turns out to be not who we thought that they were, or is absent or just really not fulfilling the duties of their office, there is a means by which to remove them. It feels like one of those things that you hope you never have to use, but in the event that you do, it's nice to have it in place rather than to scramble to get it there.
Okay. Any more discussions, questions, comments? Okay, we have a motion to review and
Roll call vote.
okay.
Can I just make a comment?
Okay, the roll call vote.
I'd already called.
Are you good with the question first?
I'm fine,
Okay,
yeah,
all right, go ahead.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so for one, recognize there's obviously an issue going on that is spurring this larger conversation. And I think for me, my decision for my vote would be around this larger picture, right? Like honestly, when I reviewed the charter when I was a candidate, I was actually surprised, like, not to see more formal language around this, and I think that it's a critical part of democracy to have both options to elect someone, but also to remove if necessary. So for me, it's like, it's larger than the issues at hand right now, and my support behind it would be because I think ultimately it would enhance the democratic process. So I just wanted to clarify what my views are on this specific topic.
Great. Any further discussion?
If I could just share brief feedback in my review of, maybe a half dozen other municipalities. It's typically quite a high bar to remove someone. You're talking, at a minimum 10% up to 25% of the potential voter base that needs to sign a petition. So we're looking at someone has to perform a pretty egregious act in order to actually be considered for removal.
Okay. Alderman Tory.
Thanks. Similar to what Alderman Franco was saying in terms of why. There was a few years ago, so I didn't realize it was going to connect it to anything that's happening. I just thought it was a motion to remove people. But a few years ago, somebody was running for the Board of Aldermen who had a criminal past that we would have preferred not to have been making decisions for our community. The voters took care of that, and so we didn't have to go that way, but it was a conversation that we had at that moment that it might be something valuable to have in case the public wasn't aware of something when they were able to vote. So I will support sending it to committee to discuss.
Any further discussions, questions, or comments?
Are we also going to send to committee the process to nominate an elected official?
It's not part of the motion, I believe.
Can we add that to the motion
You can
or make a separate motion?
Motion to make an amendment?
Motion to make an amendment?
Yeah, you can amend it.
So my amendment would be to refer to charter and ordinance, coming up with procedures for both nominating and also removing officials in the city.
Okay, so you're gonna strike his original amendment,
Yes.
make strike his original motion,
Correct.
make the amendment on top, so that we're striking through, and then we're gonna vote on the amendment first, and then we'll vote on.
Correct. I think it's important that while we're revisiting the charter, that we do a comprehensive review, and also in light of what is going on with the school board, I would like to see that.
So I think if that's the issue, this becomes a bigger issue and one of conflict of interest. Because if we're going to refer the issue that was brought to us this evening by Ms. Levens, there are conflicts of interest on this board that have to abstain from voting, if that's the catalyst behind the nomination to relieve the charter from giving the mayor the power to do so. The mayors, I've sat here for 30 years, many mayors have made appointments to school boards, to boards of aldermen, and to commission. This is the first time I have ever seen this, and it's sad. It's sad that we anticipate a member being appointed is not going to be a good person or make good decisions, and we don't know that. At least I don't know that. I don't know the gentleman well enough to make that determination. I know that they're not a part of the Rutland Forward group, and that alone makes me concerned when we have a group that calls themselves inclusive, but appears to be exclusive because they're not a member of that group. So I think if the motion is part of this to refer to the charter to remove the mayor's power to nominate to boards, then conflict of interest occur on this board, and they need to state now before that vote occurs.
So we have an amendment, it hasn't been seconded, so we shouldn't be discussing, but it's okay, we're fine, I think.
I'll state that I have no financial conflict of interest in any vote that we're going to take.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's my point, that it's any financial conflict of interest. I never said it was financial.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to amend. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Franco is seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Alderman Attore.
Thank you. So I think those are two very separate motions, and I would not support amending the first part.
Alderman Wickham.
Is the maker of the original motion, I actually do agree with Alderman Attore. I think they're both equally important issues. I don't want to conflate two things right now. As I was doing my review, that was something I uncovered that was not present within the charter. It does seem like a necessity given some of the challenges that are arising, not just within, the local scene, the state scene, but also nationally. So I would like to see this considered separately.
Okay. Any further discussions on the amendment? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote on the amendment. Would you like a roll call vote on the amendment as well? Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the amendment? Any opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, amendment fails. Now back to the original motion that Alderman Whitcomb made. Is there any further discussion on the amendment that Alderman Whitcomb made? Okay, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Alderman Atturi.
Yes.
Alderman Franco.
Yes.
Alderman Savage.
Yes.
Alderman Neary.
Yes.
Alderman Talbot.
Yes.
Alderman Taddeo.
Yes.
Alderman Whitcomb.
Yes.
Alderman Gillum.
No.
Alderman Davis.
No.
Okay, motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 2. Okay. Moving on to the next item. Any more new business? Alderman Neary.
Yeah, I was in a meeting recently with some communities talking about exercising a local option tax, and it's my understanding that we haven't done that in the city. So I'd like to refer to Finance Committee determining the feasibility of exercising a 1% local option tax and determining what the benefits and cons of that would be.
Second.
We have a motion, it's been seconded to refer 1% option tax discussion to Finance Committee. Is that correct? Any discussions or questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Is there any more new business? Okay, Alderman Talbot, then Alderman Taddeo.
So I wanted to bring up an issue that we came before the board a couple years ago, and that's backyard fire pits in Rutland. It comes up a lot at this time of year. I think, we heard from the chief about the dangers related to backyard fire pits last time and chose not to amend the ordinance related to it. But a couple of people have talked to me about the fact that there's tons of backyard fire pits in Rutland. If you walk around on any particular night, you can see fire pits in people's backyards. So it's happening, even though they're not allowed. So perhaps there's a way to license or permit fire pits and sort of have some control over what they look like, right? Like safety related to them, the same way that we give out licenses for dogs, right? Like we could say that no dogs are allowed in the city, people would have dogs anyway, so we give out licenses for dogs and keep track of them. So I'd like to refer to charter and ordinance revisiting the backyard fire pit issue.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to refer to charter and ordinance backyard fire pit issue. It's been seconded. Any discussions, questions? Alderman Gillum.
I'm going to vote against this because this is a big deal in my neighborhood, because our properties are very close together. Some of these property owners do not take care of their property. There is junk and brush and everything there. One will burn that whole neighborhood down. One out back door or backyard burner will burn the neighborhood down. And that's the reason why I supported the fire chief the last time we went through this, because there's no way to control it, okay? Matter of fact, we've had some issues down there. People that started a fire, the fire department went down there and gave them a ticket because they can't have that. I can understand that if we're in Rutland Town or in Mendon where you got more property and spread out, but the neighborhoods are so close together, this could be a real big hazard unless everybody takes care of their property, which that is not happening right now. So I'm gonna vote no on this.
Okay. Any more discussion? Comments, questions? Hearing none. Would all those in favor please say aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion passes. Alderman Taddeo.
So our current digital procurement process for contractors to submit bids for projects for the city is time-consuming and could be streamlined. And it doesn't currently allow for quick bids or electronic submissions. So I would like to make a motion to the IT committee to quickly convene a meeting to determine a bid submission method that we could hopefully use in the next 60 days.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. Any discussions, questions? Hearing none. Oh, Alderman Tory.
Sorry, I'm going to approve it. I don't want us to get caught up in the 60 days because I don't think anything's going to move that fast. But I agree with where you're going. So.
I'd like to see us try.
Open now.
Fair enough.
All right.
So can I just clarify? So, so just a process to submit electronically is all we're looking for?
You currently cannot submit electronically. You have to mail in a big package.
It's procurement.
Yeah. No, I'm all for procurement reform. I just wanted to make sure that's the scope of it. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Any further discussion, questions? Okay.
And excuse me, where are we?
The IT committee.
Thank you.
All right.
And make sure all the department heads are invited to that meeting, so they put their 2 cents into that process.
Sounds good.
That would be smart,
Great.
since they have to deal with the paperwork.
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
of course.
So the motion to refer the purchasing, digital purchasing process to the IT committee and invite the department heads.
Yeah, I'm not against this. I think it's a good idea to put it in there, yeah.
That's great.
But we need to make sure everybody's at the table.
So if I can also clarify, we are establishing a process to go into the existing procurement policy, or is there one? I feel like I've heard mixed answers. It's like, so just filling a gap. Okay.
So from my understanding, this is to add a digital submission process. That's the primary thing, right? There's already a policy, and we would have to possibly change the
There's
policy.
already-
It's
okay.
digital submission. Good?
We're all good, yep.
Awesome. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, anything else? Any more new business this evening?
I'll move to go into executive session.
Okay, we have a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Okay, I have to read the thing. Motion to go into executive session has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, you have to read the thing.
You have to
I'm
read.
gonna read the thing
You have to read it before we
first.
vote.
Okay,
Right.
hold on, it's a long thing. Go to the email. So, city attorney is out with COVID. If we need to call him, we will. Let me see 1 second here.
There goes the internet.
You can wait till I read the whole thing if you like, and just give me 2 seconds. 'Cause I have to pull it up. This is less than elegant. Okay. Below are the motions that we use. Okay, so motion to find the premature general public knowledge regarding pending litigation to which the city is party would clearly place the city at a substantial disadvantage because the discussion will divulge the city strategy in such pending litigation will include confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the city. Motion to enter executive session with the inclusion of the clerk, mayor, treasurer, representatives, and outside counsel to discuss pending litigation and as allowed under Title I, Section 313A1E and Title I, Section 313A1F.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion was seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We are in executive session. Thank you very much.